It's said. It's the Project Ion Podcast with Kevin, Andy, Jim, and Kyle, bringing you opinions on life from a basement in Northwest Iowa.
Oh, come on.
I really don't think that a president can do much about that issue.
You are fake news.
Well, let's say it's a guy named Seats.
I'm making scary.
Man, this shit whack, man.
Reverse
We're
it.
gonna do a scam.
I want to save him until he goes through puberty.
How dare you?
That's pretty much Project Island in a nutshell.
Yep. What I think we are on episode 51, I want to say.
Nice.
Yeah.
And actually, it's kind of a big day for the Project Ion podcast. I'll wait till Kyle gets on to announce, but
Yeah,
you guys
right.
know what I'm going to say.
Yeah. Is Kyle on his way to come partay?
I hope so.
Probably.
Who's the boss of this thing?
We don't really have a boss. We're sort of a Hydra
Yeah.
type creature.
I was just talking just the Zoom thing.
Yeah.
Not giving Kyle too much power.
Yep.
You know, I was thinking with all this tax money that's being flushed down the toilet, at least we get to use the Zoom account.
You know, that's realistic.
Yeah.
That's a real good. You know, we're getting our tax money back
In
Yeah.
spades.
in spades.
Yep. It's too bad we don't have a stellar audience that could, earn us even more money with ad
Yeah.
revenue
Yet.
and whatnot.
They're coming.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that stuff, so maybe we could talk about the whole Rogan thing real quick.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I've read a couple different theories. You know, the one is just straight up, it's more money.
Yep.
The other one I heard is he was kind of pissed off about YouTube's new censoring of anything that is not officially like WHO approved regarding COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had a doctor on not too long ago that's going on about vitamin D and all this kind of, interesting stuff, but probably isn't necessarily WHO approved. Wonder if he got any flack for that.
That is interesting. I listened to that one actually,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of stuff that's. It's very true. Vitamin D and vitamin D deficiency, like 75% of the U.S. is vitamin D deficient.
I am,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah,
I had a doctor tell me that I was.
yeah, and vitamin D. We live in the Midwest, so we don't eat a lot of fish. You get a lot of vitamin D in fish. We are inside for a lot of the year due to weather, so we don't get it from the sun. And vitamin D is very important for immune function as well as gut health and how your digestive system works.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty easy thing to supplement. They make a lot of different strengths. It doesn't really have many side effects of the supplement itself. You don't have to worry about it interacting with anything. But no,
Well,
I thought that was bogus because it's and I think you could get around it by not saying exactly COVID, by maybe saying general health or in the time of COVID. We want our immune systems to be healthy.
So, supports immune health,
Right.
immune system health.
Because otherwise, I think YouTube's thought process is that you're then talking about things that haven't been approved by the FDA for the indication, and which is illegal for the supplements to do. A maker of vitamin D can't say, okay, this is going to help your immune system and will make it better against COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
They can say vitamin D has been shown to strengthen immune system, but they can't make a specific claim about diagnosing, treating, or curing anything.
But any of us could get on here and say, vitamin D cures coronavirus.
Yes.
And I mean, there's nothing like YouTube may have a problem with that, but there's nothing legally wrong with it, I don't think.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think YouTube, if how good are their algorithms about seeing what people are saying? Are they checking Joe Rogan because he has 30 million views a week or whatever ridiculous number it is, more stringently than they are the Project Ion podcast, where breaking news is the reg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
I think probably for us little guys, we're probably just put through an algorithm because
Yeah.
there's so many of us. Whereas with the big dogs, they probably have eyes on most
Mhm.
or not all of the episodes.
Well, and I'd imagine people working there. I mean, if you take the number of people that work for YouTube, there's got to be some Rogan heads in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I heard something kind of interesting, and Rogan explained it. He said it was like with YouTube, you're begging them to like leave you alone and let you on the platform, but Spotify was coming back and saying, what can we do to help you? Like they were extending a helping hand, whereas YouTube, you were kind of begging for mercy.
Ah,
Interesting.
that makes a lot of sense too. I don't know much about the Spotify platform. I was asking you guys kind of about it, and it sounds like it's the kind of the thing for if you want to do streaming music, big playlists,
Yep.
listen offlines. Like it's very user friendly and worth the investment of getting the premium service.
I would say so. And I've been kind of wondering, like, how do they make money? How does Spotify make money? And it turns out that they've been losing money for a long time. They have to pay the music, the record companies like
Per
a small
listen.
amount per listen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think, and this isn't totally my idea, but I think what they're trying to do is get more into the podcast realm because they don't really have to like pay per listen with that kind of stuff. Podcasts, they're free, they're ad supported.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't like an industry that owns it. So I think that's kind of where they're heading to try to boost their revenues a little bit, or at least increase listenership without increasing cost associated with listening to actual music.
That makes a lot of sense too. It's interesting the how all that works and how some of these companies they know they're going to lose lots of money for 10 years, and then all of a sudden they got this business plan that allows them to make a pivot. And because I've heard Spotify pays the artists dog shit, like from just I don't even remember who. Oh, it was wasn't it Taylor Swift that wouldn't let him have her music on it?
I think that's right.
What?
Yeah.
One of the big poppy folks,
Right.
like wouldn't let them have her music on it because they're paying, pieces of a penny per listen or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, there was a big showdown, as I recall, regarding
Yep.
that. So I can't remember if they wound up in court or what happened there, but
I don't remember either.
yeah,
Um,
interesting stuff.
With the Rogan thing too, I think it was Tim Pool who mentioned this. He said that you know how Alex Jones was basically like excised from all social media, including YouTube,
All at the same
I was-
time.
all at the same time. Yeah, there was like one company that kind of got the ball rolling on that, and eventually everybody followed suit and kicked them off. And I always wondered, like, okay, how is he allowed to go on, Rogan more than once? I think 2 or 3 times he was on. And Tim Pool made the comment, and this came straight from Rogan. He said that Rogan actually called YouTube or talked to them and said, hey, just a heads up, Jones is coming on. Don't penalize us. And they didn't demonetize it. It was
Yeah.
ad supported and brings in lots of money. I'm assuming that 4-hour epic. with
Yeah, that
Alex
was.
Jones.
Oh man, that one was super good.
Yeah.
He starts getting into it with Eddie Bravo
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because even Alex Jones doesn't believe the damn world's flat.
Yep. Oh
You know,
yeah. Yeah, that was something else. I couldn't I had to watch that in stages over the course of about
Same.
a 10-day period because
It's so long and
It
there's
was-
just so much in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Jones, I find him very entertaining, but like there's too much of, oh, there's documents. Believe me, there's documents. I'll show you the documents.
Yeah.
I've never seen any of these documents that purportedly show,
Yeah.
you know, whatever his claim.
What scares me is that there's like tiny truths in what he says that
There always is.
tend to come true over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole like lizard or freaking like the one he was talking about there, where the rich people are drinking blood and they want the blood because, like, that's not real.
That came from a guy by the name of David Icke. If you really want to go down the rabbit hole, that dude, I think, got kicked off of YouTube as well. He had an
David
interview.
Icke?
Yeah, David Icke. He originated the lizard people conspiracy.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He's
He's
the one
the
who
OG.
thought he swears he saw their eyes like go from normal human eyes back and then vertical pupils and then
Yeah. And as we all know, Hillary Clinton does not sweat.
yeah, that's science.
Well,
That's
do you want to
true.
dive into some news here, boys?
This dude,
I got a
Alrighty.
funny story that actually just happened prior to this. I was up at my folks' place. Mom made tacos for dinner,
bitchin'.
and had some tacos and just sitting there finishing up eating, chatting a little bit, and someone rings the doorbell, and it just doesn't happen very often anymore, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
And their dad goes up and gets the doorbell, and I hear these two little kids talking. So I'm like, okay, fundraiser, you know, they're selling candy or some bullshit, you know, whatever. Dad goes, so what, are we selling anything? Or no, the kid opened. The kid goes, you want to buy some stuff? And my dad's like, well, what are we selling? And apparently they were selling mangoes for $1 or boxes of raspberries for $3. And Dad goes, well, what are you selling these for? And apparently one of the kids' name was Angel, and Angel's mom was raising money for something, but they didn't know what. It was,
Oh, did you buy any?
I did not. I did
Oh.
not. I have no cash. But I'm wondering, like, how these kids are selling mangoes. They're at least $2 at the grocery store.
Yeah, and it's not like it's in season yet around here.
No. So where? I want to know who this guy's mango guy is.
Yeah, wholesale mango dealer somewheres.
It
Interesting.
was just so goddamn random. Really a nice way to finish up the evening. Really.
Oh yeah, sounds great.
Nice juicy mango. Mm.
I love mangoes.
I do too.
That's absolutely delicious.
You ready for some fake news?
Yeah, man.
And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
So, up first in fake news was Mr. Biden's latest comment on the Breakfast Club.
Oh man,
Listen, you gotta come-
this was so much malarkey.
Yeah.
See us when you come to New York, VP Biden. 'cause
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump.
So that was the line, right?
Yeah. I can't, like, this is such an odd couple right here if you just look at
Charlemagne the God and Joe Biden.
yeah.
So, yeah. The Breakfast Club is like, is it just a radio show, I think, right? And
Yeah, I
do they
think
play
so.
exclusively hip hop, or I don't even know, I guess.
What makes you say that, Jimmy?
Because I think they're a hip hop radio station or a
Uh.
radio program.
In New York, right?
I think so.
I
I think
wouldn't-
that's correct.
Yep. But I know they also have, it's almost like sort of akin to like Howard Stern or something, where they got cameras and whatnot in the room and they upload videos and stuff, because I know I've seen of different guests and stuff that they have had on there, like Birdman had a crazy viral video where he came in and like told everybody to put some respect on his name. Did you ever see that one?
I did.
Yeah, and there's that Tekashi 6ix9ine guy, and you know other people have like gone super viral on there. So yeah,
I can't remember. One of them, someone pulled out a gun one time in that studio, and they're all just, like, the host is like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing? This is we're in a radio station right now." But I love how Joe Biden is just, you know, he's so relatable, and showing how relatable he is and how good he's going to be for the urban community by going on to this radio station.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the Breakfast Club.
Heard of. He's never. I mean, you know, clearly it's his campaign setting him up for this stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fair to say that the Breakfast Club is like a campaign spot for quite a few politicians.
For Democrats.
Yeah.
You're not going to see a Republican set foot in there.
Yeah. That's probably true.
And maybe that's not true. I guess I don't know.
I remember they had on that Martin Shkreli guy or whatever, the Pharma Bro.
Farm Bro?
They had Pharma Bro on there. And that was shortly after all the controversy, I think. Plus, Pharma Bro bought the...
Was it when he bought the Enter the Wu?
Yeah, the Wu-Tang album that's not released or whatever. And they were really raking him over the coals, as I recall.
I might have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of remember that too.
Yeah.
It was right after he bought the Wu-Tang album.
Yep.
It can't be released legally or something for 100 years.
Until it goes into public domain.
Yeah. I never knew what was going on with that, Jim. Do you?
No, I don't.
I don't know, man. Biden's just so out of it.
Well, so what was your guys' take on this whole situation? What did you think about it, Kevin?
It's him trying to be a tough guy again.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is just pandering.
Yeah, it is. It's him thinking too. You know, the other thing that this tells me is that he thinks because he has that D by his name, he gets the entire black vote like every other Democrat before him.
Excellent. Yep.
Automatically. And I think that's horseshit. I think that's terrible.
And it might be a little bit racist, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, because it does. I think so, because it pigeonholes them as a voting bloc that doesn't separate.
Well,
historically.
And that it's a group of people that always thinks the same. Like all blacks think the exact same thing and are going to vote the same way.
Yeah.
That's racist to think that.
It is. And historically, it's been somewhat accurate. There's never been, you know, Republicans have never won that vote or come close. But you don't do that. You don't just say, you ain't black unless you vote for me. So that's the new litmus test on if you're an African American, is if you vote for
a rich old white guy.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the second worst Democratic candidate of recent history. And it's a close second.
Yeah. Well, there's Kyle. Can you hear us, Kyle?
Hey, boys. Yeah. Can you hear
Kyle
me?
got a haircut finally. Looks like a respectable gent.
Yeah, I had to ditch the hippie lifestyle. So I'm no longer a Democrat.
Have you dried out up at your house yet?
Yeah, we're pretty dry.
Good.
Hopefully this inch that we're supposed to get tonight and tomorrow will stay away.
Well, I'm just a phone call away.
Yeah. Gabby was out here slinging buckets up the stairs the
Was
other
he?
day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, did you guys have a big whoopsie?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, whole basement was flooded, carpet.
Oh, buddy, that sucks.
Not good, but we dried her out and think we got the issue solved. So
Good.
Where was it coming in?
the tile around the house was backed up because there was a blockage from the main pipe that went out to the city sewer. So all the groundwater was coming back up through that
Yeah.
drain, and then the tile was blocked. So it was just a disaster.
They didn't have to dig to fix again, did they? Or
They're going
they're
to,
gonna?
yeah. They're just gonna put a sump pump in, so
Okay.
it's not as big of a project, but
Yeah.
I
still
got
sucks.
3 sub pumps in my basement. I just
Really?
Yeah. They've had feet in that basement, I guess. In the past. But then she put like 25 grand into sub pumps and thrasher systems and
This is a
Yeah.
new place, Spurge?
yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And you know about your utility easement in the backyard, I think, right?
I didn't read it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a utility box.
Oh,
out there.
yeah. Yep. There's always a utility easement somewhere.
All I did, I read like a quarter of a page, and then I go, Dad, is there anything I got to do? He goes, No. All right, good. Like, my lawyer's happy. I'm happy.
Yep. Yep.
Now that Kyle's here, I feel obligated to announce that this is roughly the 2nd year anniversary of the Project Ion podcast.
Yeah. Yay.
Congratulations.
Yay us.
Memorial Day is kind of my bookmark.
Yeah, I think that's right. I remember we experimented a little maybe prior to that, but whatever we did
Yeah.
was pretty terrible and unusable, I think.
Didn't we do audio only for
Yeah.
the Democratic? Was it the nomination?
There was
I don't remember.
I remember we did one like it was a CNN town hall on something that was
Yes.
all audio only. I can't remember what the subject matter was. I probably like SJW type stuff if I had to
Right.
venture to guess. And I don't know if that still exists or not. Maybe it does. Did I record that or was that you?
I think we went to Kevy. I think
Yeah,
Kevy
you guys were here a couple
input.
times.
Yep.
Man, it seems like it was 10 years ago.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
That was back in the pre-COVID times, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Burge was just a twinkle in our eye.
Yep.
Aw, now I'm a thorn in your side. Fact checking you all day, Kyle.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how long we were at it before we got going on the video stuff, but I don't think it was too terribly long.
The video
after
was
that.
going by the time I got involved.
Yep.
I feel like my first episode was on video.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
Yep.
Is not Spurge, but Beards or T2 gonna be on?
No for
Beards-
Tony.
Beards just texted me, said he'll be late. He's still cooking dinner.
Amateur
the
hour.
chef. Quite the chef, that Beardsley.
Yep. Yeah, darn it. I wanted to hear as I'm sure he'd have an eloquent defense for Biden's comment here. Let's listen again.
And you ain't
Sleepy
black.
Joe.
It don't have nothing to do.
You're in blood. And you aren't gonna be president.
Did you happen to see this, Kyle?
Oh yeah.
Any strong feelings about it one way or another?
It's just Sleepy Joe being Sleepy Joe. I mean, I don't know. There's only one reason you're going to be on the Breakfast Club anyway, and that's the pander to the blacks. But
I think they're a pretty big deal, that
the
Breakfast,
Breakfast
Club.
Club?
I don't know. I think they've got a nationwide audience. Don't
Oh
they?
yeah, I mean they're big. I just think it's crap.
Yeah.
You guys want to see Kelly?
Yep.
I'm just. Yep. She says no.
Oh, come on. Oh,
We're
I
up-
think
I'm
we
upstairs.
the wheels are in motion for Kelly to join the ELC Foundation.
Yep, she's
So,
game.
yep. The
All
takeover,
right,
hostile
another
takeover.
inside job in the
Yeah.
Esterville elites.
That's right. Won't be long, and the computer parts scam will come to fruition.
So Sturge is our lefty. You thought this was egregious, I would assume.
I don't know if egregious. I don't know if that's the right word. I think
it was. Yeah.
I think it's ridiculous, and
Yeah.
he's
Egregious.
he's a ridiculous person that I can't take seriously. But
Are you gonna vote for him?
probably.
All right.
I did not vote for Hillary.
Oh.
But I will probably vote for him during this election, unless he gets ousted. I would love that. And during COVID, I feel like you could pull something like that.
What if he
And
got
the more
ousted by Hillary?
Oh God, no! I couldn't do that. I couldn't vote for her.
She's gonna swoop
She's
in.
awful.
Yep. She's gonna swoop in with her talons and just sink her meaty, bloody talons into the Democratic nomination and just rip it out.
You know, the only thing about Biden that I'll say is that if he were president, he's not going to do shit
No.
as president.
He'll die in a year.
Oh, I think they'll keep him around, keep him on life support. He'll have good health care and all that. He might be wheeled around a bit, but and get lost in the West Wing. But
I think the strategy for the Democrats is to basically just forget about this election and regroup.
Well,
try to figure it out for next
they
time.
should have regrouped. They had 4 years. I don't
Yeah,
think
but we were too worried about gender pronouns and like universal income.
Well, they might just try and win the Senate too. I mean, if you have the House and the Senate, you pretty much don't need a president.
correct.
But
But I mean, it's basically impossible to get a veto-proof majority. So
yeah,
you still do need to work with the executive branch. But can you imagine the shit show if Trump wins, they would take the House and the Senate.
Sorry.
I mean, if we thought if the right thought that the probing and trials and etc. were bad this time, imagine if they had the Senate and the House.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you probably still wouldn't have the votes to remove, but you'd have the votes to convict in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Be a mess.
Yeah.
What a mess.
Well, so what's been the
It's
what's been like the overall commentary on this? I mean, I've heard people claim racism. I've heard people just say, well, he was joking, or you know, it was just a regular old Biden gaffe or something like that.
What was his comment? He came out, later that day, of course. It was something like, I was too cavalier.
Who uses that word anymore?
And well, dude, his nationwide bus tour is called the No Malarkey Bus Tour.
Yep.
Nothing says I'm in touch with the youth like using the word malarkey.
Yeah.
Here's
Which actually,
CNN's take
my
on
friends and I started the malarkeymeter.com.
Yeah, I like that, by the way.
CNN says there are some who say that if anyone is offended by Biden's latest comments, they aren't paying attention to what Biden is really saying.
What is he
Your
really
fault.
saying?
Yeah, do tell us, CNN.
Yeah, right.
CNN just tweeted a major news story that President Trump is golfing over Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
Huge story.
A
Are you
bombshell.
guys as sick as I am of these breaking news headlines, which are nothing but Trump says, Biden says, blah 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 says, like, ugh.
The word breaking, that's the thing, man. Breaking doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Every single network does it
Mm-hmm.
across the board. It's like 24/7. It says breaking news down in the bottom of their little chyron. And it's always just dumb shit.
Yeah.
It's literally he says, she says at this point.
Yeah.
Correct.
Breaking news. Somebody said something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or, as Illihan would say, some people did something.
Yeah. Back in my day, breaking news was 9/11.
Word.
Yeah.
You know, something
Yeah.
like that.
Waco.
Hey, you guys want to feel old? The graduating seniors of high school were born during the year of 9/11. So
Yep,
they were born
probably after even, right?
Yeah.
I bet some were born in like 2002 or 3.
And they're, man, going to college.
Yep.
No, they're not.
Hey, University of Iowa's having fall classes.
Oh, no, they'll have fall classes and stuff. I was taking a dig at Esterville schools.
Oh, okay. Man,
Which we should get into.
Hey-o.
Zing. Whatever happened with the class who was a very slow class of youngsters? Remember that caused a big hubbub like a year ago? The second graders were dummies or something like that.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. I don't know. I don't obviously hear much about them anymore. Imagine that. Problems just kind of go away when you don't
fades away.
Yep.
Kind of like the teacher effort during coronavirus. It just faded away.
No
Faded
new learning.
away. Like all my tax dollars.
Hey,
Fading away, fading.
At least we didn't dress up like dinosaurs and walk around.
I'll give you that. But
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
I
the
bet
dinosaur
Josh
thing.
Shaben would do that.
Shabes.
Did he? So the rumor in high school, he was in my class. The rumor in high school was that he tried out for Lord of the Rings to be a hobbit. I don't know if that's something we just started or what. But
I
He's
heard
in
it.
your class?
I can corroborate the rumor.
you remember that, Jim Bob?
Oh yeah, I definitely remember it.
He didn't go to Esterville, did he? He went to Spirit Lake.
No, he was at Lake.
Like, yeah.
Good times. Well, I guess have we had enough of Biden?
Yes.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I think the country's had enough of Biden.
Well,
Come on, Jack.
in the black theme,
Get out
I
of
guess,
here,
right?
Jack.
Here's some news out
A
of
black
Des Moines.
Des Moines man who says he was brutally beaten by 2 white men over the weekend wants justice. The NAACP says it was a racist attack. KCCI's Laura Terrell is live at the Des Moines police station tonight with the latest on this situation.
Des Moines police are still investigating. They call it a serious assault. They say a motive will determine if it was a hate crime.
Why did it have to be this brutal? Like, why did it have to go this far to where my life was almost taken?
Darquan Jones says he...
I
Hold
see
on.
you smiling there, Kyle. What's so funny?
I just like the T-shirt. That must be Dad.
Oh, is that a picture of him on the T-shirt?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's a classic move.
Oh man.
Usually it's when someone dies, but
Yeah,
and then you make a T-shirt and wear it to the funeral.
right. Well, you can see he's beat up pretty bad. He's
Oh, yeah, he
definitely
looks
got like
Dude, he has a broken arm, 5 bones in his face broken. Yeah, he was messed up hard.
so, you know,
I think they held his face down in water.
really.
Gee.
Yeah.
Hey Jimmy, how far away did this happen from where you used to live?
I don't know, I guess. I don't
It
know.
was it was straight south of downtown.
Oh,
like
okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So like between downtown and the airport.
Yeah, okay. So that wasn't far from where the bachelor party hotel was then,
Yeah.
Kyle.
That's
Be
where,
down in
You
that
stayed
neck
on
of
the
the woods.
side?
that's where Dylan and Reitz just got up and walked around at like 1 in the morning.
I got to tell this story. So
Good Lord.
Kyle and I got married the same summer. So I was in the middle of law school, and they're like, "Let's have a bachelor party. We gotta party it up or whatever." They make plans. Kyle gets a hotel room. It's on like Southeast 14th or something. One of those, like, you'd be embarrassed to take a hooker there type places.
Yeah, dude.
And
Did they have hourly rates, Kyle?
yeah. And we get down there, and I'm just like, "Oh man, you guys." And it was gonna be rub-a-dub-dub, Dylan, Teets, and Kyle all in the room, and I'm like, I'm not staying here. I have my own place. I'm going home. You know?
I got an apartment.
Yeah.
That was cheap back then, man.
So, anyways, it was like super sketchy, and I wound up DDing at my own bachelor party. And I don't know. Yeah.
You did what?
Yeah, I was a DD at my own bachelor party.
Oh, DD. I thought you said DPing, and I was just like, that's gross, man.
Yes.
Okay.
Designated.
I'm with
I was
ya.
designated driving at my own bachelor party, and
That's
yeah, Dylan and Reitz were like up bombing around down there, Southeast 14th at 2 a.m, and
looking for cigarettes.
looking
or
for
what?
smokes or something. Yeah.
It was nuts. They should be dead.
Yeah.
They were not in their element. But they have a more detailed story to tell than what I can about their adventures out.
Right.
I'll have to let them tell it.
We'll have to defer to them for a better factual recount.
He is
Yeah.
traumatized. The 22-year-old stood in front of his grandmother's house Tuesday, speaking for the first time since Saturday's assault that put him in the hospital.
I'm still hurt. I just want to know, just what happened to me. It really just breaks my heart because I'm not even, the type of guy to get in trouble.
Jones says he has 5 broken bones in his face, a broken arm, and a broken wrist. He says 2 white men accused him of robbery when he was walking home from his girlfriend's house early Saturday morning at 52nd and South Union in Des Moines.
Just come forward. If y'all feel like, I did this or did that, y'all can have the, police fingerprint my hand.
Jones says the men beat him and one called him a racial slur.
This is not right. To me, this is not right. I mean, my son look how tall he is compared. Look how big he is. It's not, the way you did this to him is not right.
The underlying issue is that invisible disease of racism.
The Des Moines NAACP stood alongside Jones in support.
There's clearly and apparently people in our streets that have a belief system that is not a belief system that we all would like to live by.
Des Moines police say they are talking to witnesses and following up on leads. They are trying to figure out the motive behind the assault.
Well, so that I guess that is the threshold question as to the issue of whether or not it's a hate crime. I guess.
And you have to prove motive, right?
Yeah, I mean, I assume so. I don't think you can just call it a hate crime if one person is one color and then another, the
right.
attacker is another. But yeah, and it's I suppose it's one of those kind of totality of the circumstances things and how much they can support with evidence.
Well, if there's a racial slur involved, which I can't imagine which one that would be, but I would think that would lend credence to.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was encouraging to me to hear that they were interviewing witnesses because that makes me think if there's other people around, that will be maybe the, main testimonial evidence besides the victim's own testimony.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, that's federal, right?
If it's a hate crime?
When it's a hate crime status?
I'd have to double check on that. I guess I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but I mean, there'd absolutely be, felony level type assault, battery type criminal activity going there. So, yep.
So I'd like to put a different spin on this, which is because of what Juicy Smollett did and his "This Is MAGA Country" act. I mean, how many people are gonna, immediately cast doubts on this, which in my opinion is clearly a hate crime, because it could be faking it. It could be, something completely different than what it looks like because of the doubts that Jesse Smollett put into everybody's minds.
Yep.
No, I think you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a sad, a byproduct of those hoax incidents that are verifiably so. Now suddenly, it's almost establishes a burden of proof on the victim to prove that it's not fake, and then you go even further to prove whatever underlying thing happened as well. So,
right.
Yep. Yeah, terrible series of events, that's for sure. And then, the pretty much happening simultaneously with all the rollout of information on the Ahmaud Arbery circumstance as well. Have there been any? I haven't been following that too close. Have there been any major developments there that you guys know about?
No.
I think they've been charging more people with murder. I think, like maybe the videographer guy got charged here. I think I read that.
Oh,
somewhere.
that's right. I did hear that. The guy who was taking the video was charged also with first-degree murder.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean,
I think, at least what I read was that there was another video, and it showed that this guy, the guy who took the video, had a gun on the kid as well. And so it's just kind of like you three thugs all gang murdered this kid.
Accomplice liability.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And I'm sure then they'll go for, conspiracy to commit murder. And
yeah, I suppose something like that.
all that, which is honestly, if the guy that pulled the trigger will probably end up getting the actual.
that's what I was just gonna say.
charge.
How can you charge somebody who didn't pull the trigger?
You can charge all you want.
Charge, I guess. Convict should be the.
I think what they'll end up doing is then he'll plead down for manslaughter or conspiracy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
How about the kid in Esterville?
Yeah, that was a pretty nefarious story too.
I didn't hear about this. What are you talking about?
A thief had stolen Matt Heinrich's grill, Bill Woods's grill.
Oh, the grill master, yeah.
But then apparently a bunch of kayaks and stuff, and the cops finally get a warrant, raid his house for the stolen property. And he's got some pot and like pipes and stuff, but then has illegal weapons.
Jeez.
Which I don't know if they're illegally modified or if they were like serial numbers ground off or what the actual offense was, but that's federal. They brought in the ATF because of the firearms.
And a big laundry list of felony in state of Iowa. Yeah, so
you sure he wasn't from Lake?
No, we don't produce that kind of
probably
riffraff.
originally.
No. And I'd like to say that it's not an illegal weapon. It's an undocumented firearm. So how dare you?
Take your firearm.
Yeah.
No, I mean if it's illegal modified, it's an illegal firearm.
If that kid, I mean, if everything goes his way, he's gonna still do like 10 years in the pen, I bet.
Who was it? Do we have a name?
A Briner?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, I think I did. Yeah. Okay.
It was all over Facebook.
21-year-old kid.
You had him in class, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And actually, just that was 2 houses down from where I grew up on 6th Street. It was Donna Fagry's old house.
Okay.
Careful. That word will get us banned.
Fagry?
Careful.
I didn't do a soft A.
Doesn't matter. The algos are not that sensitive.
Says the guy who said he was talking coronavirus stuff. You know they're hot on that right now, Kev.
That's right. Finally tuned those.
Heyo.
Talk about Corona beer. Oh, they're gonna laser lock in on you.
Nice. Well, we got Sarah Snyder with us.
Oh man,
Yeah.
She got ugly.
She did get ugly, didn't she?
She
Always comes up as
She's such a nice girl. Let's see if we can trigger beards with those first couple stories quick.
Oh, okay. Go
we
back.
talked Biden and that idiot.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Did you have a take on that whole thing, Cole?
What's that?
On the Biden "you ain't black if you don't vote for me" thing?
You know, I worked quite a bit this week and I missed some of that. I can't even like speak on it. I never even read about any of it.
Sure.
I never.
Wait, hold on.
Convenient.
Hold
You
on.
can tell
Who's Terp?
Huh?
Who's Terp?
Oh, one of those classic Beardsley spelling mishaps.
Yeah, God. My grammar's so terrible.
He always tries to own people on Facebook, and then he just.
And then I can't spell or have grammar like a 3-year-old.
Oh well.
There we go.
There
It's
we
better.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
Well, did you see the clip, Cole? We can play it again if you want.
Yeah, because I heard like something about it, and then I heard Trump tweet something about it, but I didn't really hear like
Yep.
what that.
All right. Well, I'll play it again quick for you.
Oh, did Dumpy tweet about it? I didn't
Listen,
read
you got to
that
come
one.
see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump.
So that's the line.
Oh yeah, that's pretty sweet. What do you
Isn't
say
that,
about that? I mean,
That's
Joe?
what the ridiculous process
yeah, Joe
thought
really
is
just
the best option.
he really just shouldn't talk. I mean,
You'd have a better chance.
yeah, if he could, I mean, Trump's gonna talk because he loves the spotlight. Just let that guy talk, and
And he'll win another election.
yeah, he's his own worst enemy. I feel like, as far as like the verbal gaffes, and I mean, we can't inject disinfectant into everyone, so.
Alrighty. Well, why don't we? Speaking of disinfectants, Trump had a good one on the hydroxy stuff, whatever, however you say
A lot
it.
of good things have come out about the hydroxy. A lot of good things have come out.
Plaquenil. That's an easy way to say it.
You'd be surprised at how
Better.
many people are taking it, especially the frontline workers, before you catch it. The frontline workers, many are taking it. I happen to be taking it.
Not hydroxy. I love how he just drops it on the reporters like he knows they're going to go crazy if he just randomly says this in an
Well,
interview.
and that's half the thing.
Love it.
I doubt he actually is.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, that's a theory too.
I mean, he's the biggest known liar on the planet currently. So
How many lies has he told?
I don't know. It's in the close to 20,000 or something.
Oh my goodness. Have you looked at them?
It's like a politician, but worse.
Have you actually looked at the lies database?
Which one?
Oh,
I mean, there's like several thousand of them.
Yeah, and a lot of them are like Trump says 5 million something when he actually should have said 499,000.
Well, I mean,
499,000 is quite different than 5 million.
Spurgeon's got a fair point there.
True.
A lie
But
is a lie.
They're like
I mean-
number things that he gets wrong.
So, I keep hearing things about like, Joe is senile or whatever. Trump's the same way, probably worse. I mean, if you want someone that like is gonna give you factual information anyway, I mean, he's not your guy. I mean, he's not gonna put the stats out, and if he does, they're probably gonna be skewed in whatever way is beneficial to him.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he doesn't like Fox News anymore. I know that.
He has an on again, off again relationship with Fox News.
Yeah,
If it could just all be Sean Hannity, he'd be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he loves Sean.
Oh, Hannity is the worst. He's like listening to a guy slap you with a wet blanket over and over again. He's just.
I just can't stand the voice.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know. Tucker's pretty awful too, though. Tucker's little look he does, where he kind of looks like he's lost.
But at least he's like, and he's despicable in my opinion. But
despicable.
That's a good word.
Deplorable.
Not despicable. You know, at least he's come out and said a few times, "Hey, this is not right. You shouldn't." I mean, what Trump said basically is not correct. Hannity has never done anything like that. He's just whatever Trump says that's good. You're good as gold. I mean, I can't even tell you the times. It's been like 2 or 3 times, but it was something recently with COVID within the last month or two.
So
but that could be.
I've got a question for you, Cole, and it's sort of rhetorical, I guess, but can you think of a redeeming quality that Donald Trump has?
He always looks the same.
Yeah, the hurricane-proof hair.
He's made for TV.
There you go. All right. I was sort of thinking, I was debating between that and being like, okay, if you had to get stuck on a desert island with like Trump or Charles Grassley.
Oh gosh.
Charles Grassley.
Yeah.
Who would
At
you
least
pick?
Grass is older. He might die first so you can eat him. I don't know besides that.
I mean, Grassley and Biden are definitely older. Trump's not a spring chicken, though.
No, he's not. Not at all.
He's in terrific health, though. The most tremendous health of any health out there, okay?
Doctors have never seen health like this.
Maybe ever.
Yup.
Some people are saying that, just got the best health.
Man, Trump rocks.
Yeah, 4 more years. 4 more years.
Keep America great.
Yeah, he stopped saying that. I haven't heard CAG for a while. He's gone back to the MAGA.
Yeah, well, America's poopy again ever since COVID happened, so now we
that's
gotta
right.
make it great again.
That's right.
No, there's
Speaking
only
of
one
COVID,
man.
I have a small COVID update. Me and the family broke out of the house and went down to the farmer's market this morning in Okeechobee, and tons of people, no social distancing at all. And it was fantastic.
Were you one of the people at Spud Nuts?
No, but we did see the line like to the road.
Yeah. Like
holy cow.
Packed in there like sardines.
Yeah.
As our coronavirus expert Greta Thunberg would say, how dare you?
Right. Yeah, they announced that they were going to, I think, cancel some of the summer like athletics, but Arnold's Park is going to be bringing in the money. You know it.
No, I think high school sports are going.
Yeah,
I just saw something.
Softball.
They canceled.
Softball. And
Friday,
baseball.
the governor came out and said that she was
They can do
allowing high school.
They
Sounds
can,
like-
but I don't know if they are.
I think
Oh,
it's
the school
it's
system.
up to the individual district now, because the Iowa Athletic Association gave it the okay after the governor did, and now I think it goes into the school board.
But do you feel like that's more like they're just passing the buck because
Yeah,
they're ultimately it'll be up to the districts or school systems to decide
yeah,
for liability reasons whether they're gonna.
yeah.
You
A lot
get-
of it is transportation too.
Right,
If you have to
right. You
do
get
this, like
20, 30 kids on a bus, and
Yeah.
even if you got the windows open and they're sucking bugs,
yeah,
Sucking bugs.
Sucking butts. That's a good one, Kohlberg.
Demonetized.
Well, luckily we don't stand to lose much if we do get demonetized. So
Well, one of our mutual friends, Tyler, sent us a snap last night. He must have been in a bar or something at the lakes where they're just
back to,
pounding shots.
yeah, business as usual.
Yeah.
Ritz Bowls after Ritz Bowls.
Yep.
The Ritz got fined like $9,000
I
already.
heard the Barefoot did too.
Did they?
Yeah,
I don't believe it.
that's crazy.
That's a big fine, man.
Yeah, but I don't believe they got fined. That'd be like all over Okoboji News. You think they really got the?
I guess, yeah. That's a good point.
I don't know if I'd want to tell anybody.
Yeah, but it's public. I mean, that's a public, right? I mean,
I don't know if it is or not.
Jim, is that?
Yeah, I guess I don't know the answer to that, because is a fine arising under a governor edict, emergency doctrine thing, or is it some sort of a violation of a?
I'm sure it'd be a Sydney ordinance, maybe.
Or an ordinance thing, yeah.
Somebody would have narked over there.
Well, no, it would be under the governor's order of the whole, like, you can only be at half capacity and.
Yeah, because I guess I don't even know any facts about what the fine was for. Is it? I assume it's really.
Either. I assume.
Yeah.
I assumed it was capacity or not having the agreed upon distance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can afford it over at Lake.
Of course we can.
It should be terrifically hard to enforce in police, I would think, is the, capacity stuff and the rest of it. And I mean.
Yeah, I mean they have to enforce fire code though.
Right, but
yeah,
I just
don't do that though either. I mean,
they definitely don't do that.
You've been in the Ritz when there's like 500 people there, and I think they have a capacity for like 250 or 175.
I wonder if that's what all this COVID stuff is going to turn into. Just another COVID marshal coming around once every year to make sure you're up to code, and everybody's terrified of him or her because she's mean.
Yeah, that big
Ritz
guy
actually had that cop.
Yeah,
I mean, he was paid by the Ritz to do that job, so that they always were like, they always had everyone ID'd, and they always were like under capacity.
Yep.
Except for 4th of July, because they always sold more Ritz cards than they like had space for. I know, because I bought a Ritz card, a couple times, and there was always, they were always
loves Lake.
Good. We get along just fine.
Yeah. Well,
I like the Long Islands.
The last time I was at Captain's Getaway, when it was really crowded, I remember thinking, like, this is dangerous, because it was the upstairs part, of course, is like a super hot commodity, like on a Friday, Saturday night in the summer.
The new upstairs, you mean?
Yeah, at Captain's, the upper deck level.
Deck up. Yep.
And then where like the bands are and stuff, the lower level. I mean, like, if there was an emergency or something, or a fire or whatever, people are getting trampled. Like, it was that shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, but the smart guy is gonna jump. You're only like 20 foot, 25. I mean, you're just gonna break your legs a little bit and maybe your back. That's better than burning.
Right. But still, there's no way that could be within capacity for the building and all of that.
Right.
Like, it was just super sketchy. And I think that's a routine occurrence. So
yeah, they're packing them in as much as they can.
Oh, absolutely.
We like to think we're a little bit above the law over here.
Well, the Nautical has got that big. Those guys just dumped a whole bunch of money into that place. They've got a upstairs now too, don't they?
Oh, they do? I guess I haven't seen that.
I think so. I think it's like the Captain's. I think.
Wow. Okay.
That's a big.
Dude, I don't know where Dusty gets all that money. Nautical must be doing well.
The bank is doing well.
Well, yeah, because I know Mothers. To me, Mothers doesn't seem like it does.
Well, Mothers, I bet, does crazy well before COVID, but that's like the only place in town to eat besides, Woody's. Just think of like the turnover they're getting there.
Well, yeah, it's the only place in Nashville to get a steak, that's for sure.
Right.
I bet that place is doing well. I know Woody's does well.
I stopped going there because it took too fucking long to get food, dude. It was like an hour.
Bird is salty.
Well, I think the last time I was at Mother's was with you, Spurge. I feel like we had lunch in there or something, and thankfully I didn't have many afternoon appointments. Yeah. Met at noon, and I was back at the office at like 4.
Here goes our Mother Nature sponsorship. Nice going.
Oh, well. We'll survive. just like Trump.
I'm taking it. Hydroxychloroquine.
I was just gonna say, Jim, you get this. Change the view here. You've been staring at
Been looking at Trump too much.
30 minutes. It feels like.
Okay. Come on,
The more I get more testosterone, the more I stare at him.
Yeah.
It rises.
So to the medical.
Oh yeah, he has so much test.
I've got.
He's definitely on like androgel or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably got a pump.
Yeah.
Pumping that baby up. For sure.
So is the as far like is the science fairly settled on the answer to hydroxychloroquine as a COVID treatment? Is it a hard no at this point, or like where are we as far as that goes?
There's been no data to suggest it's a yes.
Okay.
I defer to Spurge on that. I mean,
there's been two there was the VA study, and then there was a recent one that was published in the Lancet that was like 14,000 cases or something like that.
I thought it was 1,400.
1,400.
I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't read the study. I read the conclusions.
There's another lie.
It was like a odds ratio of 45%.
Going in the database.
Do harm.
I mean, we could pull it up. You could type in hydroxychloroquine study.
It'll pop up.
Right. The most recent one I saw, like Spurge said, there's no evidence, and usually it shows worse outcomes.
Yeah, there's more evidence of harm.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is Trump's going to die.
Yeah, but he's such a liar. He's not taking it. He's just spouting off. He's spouting off.
And I'm also saying that just because something isn't useful and can harm you doesn't mean everybody taking it dies.
Right. That's true.
I've heard lots of doctors are taking it for preventative care.
Are they?
That's what I've heard.
I think Trump
They're
goes on to
prescribing
say that in this clip.
Yeah,
He
Trump
said it
says it. Who are they? I'd like to know.
Dr. Drew said it too in an interview.
Because I think it's
Dr. Drew.
good stories.
Well, Dr. Drew.
Mr.
Sorry.
Drew?
Is he a mister? He's not actually a doctor or something, or
He's a doctor or something. It's not an MD though.
yeah. Well, so how did the hydroxychloroquine enter the conversation as a possible COVID treatment? Were there studies or something like done outside the United States or something? Or I feel like that's my memory of it, at least.
He is a physician, I guess. He's an internist.
Interesting.
And addiction I mean, he's not an infection.
No, but he knows like medical doctors that are prescribing it to others and themselves and are taking it.
So where's the evidence?
Okay, I guess I can look up Dr. Drew's evidence, but if we're going to go that route, then we should probably research everything everyone says.
Well, when it comes to medicine, yeah.
All right.
I mean, I don't think you can just I can't say just.
I mean, I'm not going to assume that he's lying about it, I guess.
Ibuprofen cures Lyme's disease.
If I didn't have a screaming child, I would definitely enter into this conversation.
So, did you guys hear me? When did the Plaquenil thing enter the conversation as a possible treatment? I think I remember hearing that, like, maybe they treated them in France or something with it, or Italy.
I think that's right. France sounds right.
But
I know France was doing one of the studies.
Mm-hmm.
65% of physicians in new survey will give anti-malarial drugs to their own family, blah, blah, blah. There's all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, yeah. I guess it probably hasn't been, rigorous enough of testing and studies and stuff at this point to make definitive claims about, yay or nay, or at what stage of the illness would it potentially be beneficial or not, and so on and so forth. But, and I guess, is that maybe where the discrepancy is? between?
I guess my discrepancy is I don't know that there's any evidence for it working. Like actual evidence of efficacy.
Do you count anecdotal?
No.
You don't?
No.
Oh. All right.
Anecdotal evidence is not evidence when we talk about medicine. You can do case studies. Case studies are evidence.
Scary.
Case series are evidence. They're lower forms of evidence than random controlled trials. I don't require a random controlled trial. When I worked at Children's, we very rarely had randomized controlled trials for the drugs that we were using on kids off-label at different doses, but we had case studies. We had robust case series. We had cohort studies. There's a lot of things you can do. And one guy going, "Hey, I think it works," it's evidence.
And was that the stuff that came out of Europe? Was that mostly anecdotal? Like a doctor would say, "Well, I tried this and X number of patients,"
yeah. I mean, it
Okay.
wasn't written up and controlled or talked about in a way that you talk about these things typically. You
Mm-hmm.
have to characterize your patient base. Who are the patients? What are their demographics? What are some confounding factors that might impact the research?
Mm-hmm.
Is it good for everybody? Does it not work for people with high blood pressure? Does it not work for people with kidney issues or acute kidney issues because they're sick? There's a lot to control for when we talk about doing these types of studies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's dangerous to just willy-nilly make these assumptions off of something that can kill people. I mean, it is a prescription-only medicine for a reason. You don't make a medication prescription only unless the risk of harm is low enough and you can do enough with it so that people aren't going to actually hurt themselves most of the time. Tylenol,
Yep.
extremely dangerous at high doses. You take 8 grams of Tylenol, you can go into liver failure and you can die. So Plaquenil is more dangerous than that because it's over the counter.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think some of the difficulty in the conversation over this is in regards to, people not maybe understanding the claim that's being made, or why there's like a reservation about making a particular claim as it is in regard to COVID, because it is a well-established drug for certain, like it's an anti-malaria drug, right? And it's been around for a long time and used in a specific way.
Yeah, for certain things.
Yep.
Rheumatoid arthritis, lupus.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's maybe some confusion there. People think, well, it's a well-established medicine. How come there's so much difficulty with applying it to COVID-19?
Right, which I think is a fundamental misunderstanding. Just because something's been around for a long time and we've used it doesn't mean it's safe.
Or safe for a particular
Or safe for a
specific
particular set of
use,
people, or safe for a particular
Mhm.
set of and even if it's relatively safe, is it efficacious? Is it worth the side effects that can happen and the effects of the drug that can happen to take something that is snake oil and that doesn't do anything
Mm-hmm.
and has been actually shown to increase risk of death?
So what amount of time or testing would it take for something like this to be proven or disproven? I mean, I've read some stuff that said, well, the ship has sailed basically on this as being a treatment avenue anymore based on some of the bad results that they've gotten.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look. You have to look at the exact statistical powers and all that stuff, and people a lot smarter than me that deal with that every day. I'll defer to them on that, because you have to calculate essentially your number needed to treat, which is how many people do you have to give the medication to in order for it to cause one successful treatment, essentially, or the number needed to harm, which is how many people do you give this drug to in order, and where will you see a definite harm in statistically. So is it, if you give it to 100 people, you're going to see one person who dies? If you give it to 10 people, you're going to see it. I don't know that. And so things like that need to be established. And then, but studies, like you said, studies won't go on once they have pretty good evidence that it's not going anywhere. And so if they're calling it already, then I'd say that the evidence is pretty clear that it doesn't do anything at all. And actually, taking it ahead of time makes zero sense to me. Taking it prophylactically, I don't understand how that would even begin to work mechanism-wise. I could see it being potentially, the only use I could see would it be being used during what we call the cytokine storm, which is when about day 6 or 7 in hospital, that's when people have to end up going on a ventilator because their body freaks out, essentially. Their cytokines, which are part of the immune system, go berserk and cause all these inflammatory processes that then require ventilation and them to be put in a coma. So maybe using something that takes down your immune system during that time would be efficacious. I know steroids have been shown to not be as well. I don't know why they go to hydroxychloroquine. I don't understand the big boner about it.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it's certainly been a weird subject of conversation. I mean,
it's just strange to me how much of a boner Trump has about it. And hasn't talked at all about remdesivir, which is actually, a little bit, but not nearly as much, which is showing a lot more promise than hydroxychloroquine. And makes a lot more sense that it would work.
You guys ready to move on to something else?
Something I actually know something about, yeah.
Yeah, I'm too ignorant to
Yeah.
talk a whole lot on medicine.
Well, this was a deal that Spurge sent me the link, so it's more Trump
President
information.
Of the United States, President Trump with the White House task force there as well.
Fascist.
Thank you very much. At my direction, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is issuing guidance for communities of faith. I want to thank Dr. Redfield and the CDC for their work on this matter and all the other work they've been doing over the past, what now seems like a long period of time. Today, I'm identifying houses of worship, churches, synagogue, and mosques as essential places that provide essential.
What's that?
Great.
I like the huge pause before he says mosques.
So I have to say it. I can't get it out. And mosques.
It was either that or I was trying to figure out how that says, because the S and the Q's.
All right, he can't read.
He's not a great reader. We know that. That's not a secret.
Where's the studies on that? I don't know anything about that. Is that anecdotal?
Oh.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Fair.
Services. Yeah. Some governors have deemed liquor stores and abortion clinics as essential, but have left out churches and other houses of worship. It's not right. So I'm correcting this injustice and calling houses of worship essential. I call upon
justice.
So actually, I would like to be educated on this, which is why pot shops and liquor stores are essential, but churches until now weren't. and apparently like AA meetings. I was listening to the No Agenda show, and they said that AA meetings were not essential and not being allowed to happen either. So like, why is this happening?
Yeah, it brings up a good constitutional question.
Yeah, right. Freedom of assembly and freedom to practice religion and so forth, I guess.
I mean, the obvious thing is, well, that's what we value more in our society: pot and liquor versus churches. But like, why? Is there an actual argument as to why we can go buy booze but can't go to church and go to pot shops and?
Well, pot shops, I mean, states have declared that that's a medical establishment. That's how states got around and legalized cannabis in a lot of places. So that's where their argument's going to be on that one, is that it's the same as somebody going to the pharmacy. It's a ridiculous statement, but that's exactly what they're going to argue.
I came back at the perfect time, I feel like.
Yep.
You did, Cole. I
heard
put this in for you.
Drugs.
Urge, your pharmacy is literally a pot shop.
Not yet.
He's a drug dealer, though. Let's not forget Spurgeon is literally the only drug dealer in this conversation.
Yeah. Suckers. Call me Corn Pop. I'm a bad dude.
That's right.
Governors to allow our churches and places of worship to open right now. If there's any question, they're going to have to call me, but they're not going to be successful in that call. These are places that hold our society together and keep our people united. The people are demanding to go to church and synagogue, go to their mosque. Many millions of Americans embrace worship as an essential part of life. The ministers, pastors, rabbis, imams, and other faith leaders will make sure that their congregations are safe as they gather and pray.
So what do we think, fellas?
We want to talk about pandering?
Pandering to who? Muslims by opening the mosques?
Pandering to his evangelical base that got him elected.
He said all three.
Yeah, because he couldn't say churches without saying the other ones.
Then you can't say he's pandering.
Oh, I absolutely can say he's pandering. He's pandering to people of faith.
Including Muslims?
Sure.
I don't think Trump panders to Muslims.
He opened the mosque, didn't he?
Yes, but that's not his target like the argument that's I think trying to be made is that he's pandering to Christians, the evangelicals. I'm saying no, he's not.
Yeah, but
I think he absolutely is.
Yeah.
Just because he's opening mosques and synagogues doesn't mean he's not pandering to the people that got him elected.
Absolutely.
Where's the evidence for that?
He just couldn't. Okay, so do you think he could have let Christian institutions of worship open without also opening Jewish and Muslim ones?
I'll put it this way: if the emphasis of what he just said had just been on churches and Christians, then yes, I would say he's pandering. But he didn't just say mosques; he said mosques, imams, other faith terms of other religions and Christianity.
Right. I mean,
so he's not pandering at all.
I think he's pandering to people of faith, but not just Christians.
Yeah, I don't disagree to that.
Sure.
He's pandering. I mean, it's the same
Even
thing.
if he is he wrong?
I think so. He can't do it. He has zero authority to do that.
Do what?
To force governors to open their states, to open their just churches. What's his authority?
But he has authority to close them?
No, he doesn't. He didn't close the churches. He left it up to governors.
Well, yeah, most of the. I mean, he deferred. It's not my responsibility. Remember, that was his words. It's not my responsibility. Just like the federal stockpile, not mine. It's up to the states. So, I mean, really, like Spurge said, it's really up to the states. I mean, he's got no power constitutionally, so I suppose no power to enforce any of that. I mean,
right. FBI, so I think it is just words.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's propaganda.
I would.
But he's still
propaganda.
pandering to his base. I mean, it's the same thing that we're giving another $14 billion to the farmers that have already gotten $250,000 payouts if you have 500 acres of land you own. I mean, it's no wonder you see so many Trump signs in Iowa.
Like, okay, if you want to talk pandering, because that's a word that we seem to be focusing on, I would point you to the Joe Biden video we just watched. Like, that is pandering.
I agree completely.
This is not.
None of us like Joe either.
That's absolutely pandering.
He's a politician, though.
And
Trump,
in this,
okay.
so this is the same damn thing where Trump, what did he do with Michigan? He's going to threaten to withhold congressionally approved funds,
which is illegal.
If Michigan didn't, I can't even remember what he wanted them to do.
Mail-in voting.
Mail-in voting. Oh yeah, the mail-in voting that he does, that 85% of our military does, that I do. Hell
That
yeah,
he did.
mail-in vote.
That he did. Let's not forget he did.
Yes.
In 2018.
In Florida.
Yeah, which was illegal, if we want to be honest.
I'm ignorant. I don't know enough about the Michigan thing to comment. I don't know the big controversy, I guess.
He put out a tweet saying he was going to withhold funding from them at a time when they're actually getting a lot of funding because they got a crap ton of flooding going on in Michigan.
Right.
Like emergency level flooding. So they got FEMA down there.
That was FEMA dollars, though, wasn't it? Is that I don't
He
know.
said federal spending. FEMA dollars are the major money going in there right now.
Right. They'd get that anyway, though.
But he was gonna do
Because of
this.
the Army Corps.
If because they illegally sent people applications to mail in vote in the October or November election.
So it's just a threat. I mean, nothing's
No, he
happened.
knows he can't do it. He should know he
Propaganda.
can't do it.
Propaganda.
Well, so
because he said
Trump
that
is
it's
literally
full of voter fraud, which is also ridiculous. The only mail-in voter fraud in the last 25 years has been a Republican in North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't really get mail-in voting. I mean, is it as easy as here's a ballot, mail it in to us? I've never done it.
I just did it. You have to. They send you a letter, and then you have to request the ballot. Then you get the ballot, and you fill in the bubbles and send it on.
Right. You should have gotten one. Like the what's his name? The Republican
For primaries.
Yeah, you should have. I mean, he sent one to everyone in the state that was a registered.
Yeah.
voter.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so-
even I got one, and I'm an independent, so I couldn't use it for the primaries. But
Right. But you still got one, I'm assuming. I mean, I think every registered voter got one. But
I got an application. Yeah.
Right. You could still confirm that you want to, as far as I understand anyway. It changes a lot. But as far as I know, you could still on that after you, because it's like you said, an application. On the actual ballot that you get, you can say, yes, I want to be my party to be a Republican or a Democrat or Libertarian or, whatever the other non-existent parties
Well,
are.
that's on the application. Then you change your voter registration. I'm not going to change my voter registration because I hate the fucking Democrats just as much as I hate the damn Republicans.
That's not true.
It's pretty close, Cole.
You hate the establishment of the Democrats. You like the idea.
Which is the Democrats, dude. The Democrats won't vote anybody but the establishment Democrats. We've proven this twice.
AOC got elected, didn't she?
In New York.
Oh no!
I'm gonna get a $300 haircut, Grims. You just wait. It's gonna be
What's
bad. Your brother was bashing AOC, and I was like, I'm gonna get myself a $300 haircut because I definitely need one.
AOC is an Esterville 11.
Oh, now there's
No, not this.
There is that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, dude, she's
That's
a smoke
not
show.
why I like her.
That's an
And she
interesting.
plays Animal Crossing.
But her soul is dirty.
Like Lindsey Graham, dirty.
Lindsey Graham, he's something else. I don't know.
I tell you, I say, boy.
Yeah.
He's
He talks like Foghorn Leghorn.
He does. And that's the most redeemable trait about him.
Yeah, right. Besides that, he likes to golf with Trump, I guess. That's his big
Yeah.
claim to fame, the way he talks.
Well, so is the back to the Trump and the church thing, is the issue about the pandering, or is it because of the virus and like implications for spreading, or is it both, or what's the criticism here?
My issue is twofold. My issue is I do think in much of the country and places it is too early to be packing people full next to each other in the pews, especially
What if they
considering.
socially distanced?
There's no way to do that in churches, though. I mean, they're meant to pack people in, right?
Yeah.
You're meant to
But
be
if you're
closed in the church.
If you have a failing church, you can social distance pretty well.
Right,
Like,
if you're in some
church isn't packed.
country church in Groover, yeah, there's like 10 people that go. You could all sit at the end of
Sure,
it.
but and look at the people. I mean, at least in around here, look at the average age of most churches.
50
I mean,
or above.
I guess you can't say most anymore. There are a lot of young big churches, but it's an older population stereotypically.
So tell them to stay at home and let the young folks come. Why do you have to shut everything down?
I don't know.
Because the old ones are the ones giving their money. That's what they want.
Oh God, here we go.
We're not getting taxes out of them. So.
Right.
Well, what percentage of the burden would you put on the individual to make a decision about whether or not they would like? Okay, so if they do open up churches and so on and so forth, if you're in that risk category, I mean, the same
So
way.
go ahead, but I guess my thought there, you can go ahead and put all the burden you want on the individual, but what are you going to do to them? I mean, shame.
Because the governors, the governor said you can go to church. I mean, she's opened all this stuff up. So, a prime example, my grandfather. What?
She's opened it up, yes, but like 20 times during her press conferences daily, she says it's up to Iowans. I believe in Iowans. I trust in Iowans to do what's
Why
best.
does everybody want to be told what to do?
Exactly. This is the fundamental difference between left and right. Left wants to legislate this stuff and put it into like ruling, and the right says we trust you to do what's best and make your own decision.
Okay.
I don't trust
you. You're both teachers, right?
No.
Grims.
No.
I am, yeah.
Kevy broke out into the public sector.
I got a real job. Just kidding.
Oh.
Okay.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
So
I'm kidding.
I guess the point I was making was you have dealt with a large majority of the population. Do you trust them to make their own correct decisions?
Teenagers and kids, no.
The adults are the same way, man.
No, they're not.
Oh, they are.
They're not. I am not the same as what I was when I was in college or high school.
You may not be, but I can tell you how many people I see in the emergency room over the last 15 years that I see the same ones over and over again. And
Maybe that's why they're in the emergency room.
Well, right, because they have problems. However, there's, I would say, a good 40% of Emmett County that comes through the year that really just, I mean, they're either unwilling to take responsibility for themselves or don't have the ability to do that.
And what percentage of the population is that?
It's probably better than 40%. I mean, guys, if you could spend a week in the ER with me or with Spurge, probably Jimmy too. I mean, he sees some of the stuff with court.
You're judging an entire like civil or society based on the people you see in the ER.
Right. I am absolutely.
That's insane. You see the worst of the worst, like people at their lowest in the ER.
But see, that's what I'm saying. That's before COVID, we weren't seeing those people. We were seeing like, oh, I have a hangnail, or I stubbed my toe, or I'm not. So I would assume that you guys would take some Tylenol. If you say you stubbed your toe, literally stubbed your toe, and it hurt, would you take some Tylenol, possibly ibuprofen, maybe ice and elevate it, stay off of it? Or would you go right to the emergency room within 15 minutes of it happening to check and make sure it's okay?
I would take Tylenol, and if I was 65 years old with an underlying health condition, I wouldn't go to church.
So here's my issue, though. It's the disbelief in the science that's out there.
Right. Or they just don't. They just don't know. They don't know.
The science says stay 6 feet apart over a social distance, wear a mask. That is science, and you can do that at the church.
You can if you turn some people away. You can't out
Exactly, the old people.
Well, how do you do that constitutionally?
Tell them not to come.
Right. You recommend that they stay home.
And if they don't, then they're putting themselves at risk, which is their decision.
So it's okay to let people kill themselves.
Yes, it's okay to let people kill themselves. People can do that. It's not a crime, I don't think.
Well, there's nobody to prosecute if they're successful. So
We'll put it this way: harm yourself.
There you go, Jim.
Leave it to the lawyer.
That's, I mean, that's the crux of the difference right there between.
Well,
the problem.
I mean, it's not completely though. Right loves to make rules about what we can and can't do as well.
Of course. Yes.
Especially though, with like we can do with our own bodies. But before we get into something like that,
Lord. I can't do it.
You can.
Not abortion. I can't do it. It's 9 o'clock.
I'm not doing it either. I guess.
No, you're not. You're just an EMT. You're not an MD.
We're a panel full of men. What voice do we have?
No uterus, no opinion.
Yep.
That's the way it should be.
Oh yeah.
Well, so
I lost my point I was going to make.
Well, I got something to say. So, as to the whole rulemaking thing, I mean, I'm sure we would all agree that there's some certain amount of low-hanging fruit in terms of like, collectively we agree to be governed by criminal statutes or something like that, So there are rules that sort of everybody accepts one way or another. But I guess to me where the kind of the breakdown starts to happen is like, where do we draw the line? What's the fundamental role in government here? Is it to only fulfill things that people or states can't do for themselves, or is it to go beyond that? What's your level of comfort with regulation generally, that sort of thing?
Yep.
So
it always seems to come back to that.
Yep. And I guess personally, I tend to lean a little more libertarian that way. I mean, I don't really feel like it's a role of government to say you can or can't do ABC, especially in the context of the church thing. But
like as a libertarian, you wouldn't argue that there doesn't need to be no regulation. Like that's not what you're arguing for. There does need to be some, but very limited, I think, is the libertarian Republican-ish perspective or position.
Yeah, but like to Andy's point, it's not to say that there aren't pet projects for rules and stuff that way too. I mean, Republicans are probably more notorious for that than the true blue libertarian type, I guess. But
war on drugs.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, things like that.
Yep.
So the problem is it's probably maybe like a big giant exercise in cherry picking. We can find examples and then cast wide aspersions based on specifics and so forth. But it's a problem that I think everybody has got a certain amount of dirt on their hands, regardless
it's also
of where you fall. Yeah.
To see how it flipped over the years. And I know we've talked about this before, which is you say war on drugs. I would point to like the labels on music albums, like on CDs, parental advisory. It was the Republicans arguing for that. I would argue like limitation on speech.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Oh,
they're
yeah,
arguing for the freedom of speech.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, they haven't fought the labeling on music battle because they lost it. But I can't say that any one of them that I feel like. I don't know what Republican would be on that side if that same battle today. I think it would go the exact same way as it did last time because the Republicans pandered to the evangelical crowd. I mean, that's a huge voting block for them. Just
Maybe
like
the Rhino.
just like the black community is for the Democrats. So they pander to those voting blocks.
Yep.
You're
I would
breaking
agree
up,
with that.
Spurg. You sound like a robot.
That's my hips speaking.
He's more machine now than man. Alrighty. Well, do we have time for another video, or do people need to go, or?
One more.
All right. Well, I wanted to show you this one at least. We talked about unprecedented last week a little bit.
Yes.
And just one of the biggest problems I've had in the COVID-19 universe is all the corporate cheesery that I've seen in terms of, if we want to talk about pandering, my God, leave it to America Incorporated to swoop in and fill that gap. So.
And I think it was you, Jim, who was talking with how fast it came out.
Oh, it was immediate.
Immediate.
I mean, to me, I remember the date pretty well because I was traveling for my cousin's wedding right around the middle of March. He got married on the Friday the 13th, and it was right in there, 13th, 12th, 13th, 14th, when the wheels really fell off on the restrictions and the closing the schools and all of that kind of stuff. And people were really starting to freak out. And I think by the next weekend, there were already COVID-19 advertisements that were pouring out all over the place. So
Sherman cares.
Yep. Unbelievable.
Oh, unprecedented time.
Thank God for Costco.
In these unprecedented times, it's difficult to find the right tone for your brand. The right way to run a commercial without seeming insensitive. We are Unprecedented Times Productions, specializing in pandemic-sensitive commercials. We have soft, empathetic voiceover artists. We have kinda sad music that gets hopeful at just the right moment. We have stock footage of families in their homes, the elderly doing video calls, and people staring directly into the camera. Everything you need to remind people that even in the midst of the worst global event of our lifetimes, they should still buy your stuff. How else will people know that these are challenging times and that we're all in this together? We are here for you when you need a commercial that says, "We are here for you." Now is the time to set aside some of the money you're using to help to make a commercial that lets everyone know what you're doing to help.
Exactly.
Because now, more than ever, people need to remember you.
This gives me
is that
hope for
real?
the species. It's a great little parody, I think. It's not.
Man, that's good.
Doesn't have
That's
much traction.
really good.
It's only 600 views, so
Well, we'll bump them up.
yeah, right.
To,
Yeah, I was
to
gonna-
me, that almost sounds like one of those, like Schlitz Gay, the SNL fake commercials that they used to do
oh yeah.
a lot of.
Well, this gives me hope for the species.
Yeah. At least people recognize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, that's
funny.
funny.
There's still people poking fun at it. Good times.
Do we have a situation tonight?
We could, I suppose, if
No, we don't. It's 9:15.
maybe not. I'll have to save it for next
Spoken
time.
like a true teacher.
Yeah. Bell's gonna ring.
Yep. All righty.
Well, I'd like to remind everybody, as I do every time I'm on, that the Party of Diversity has nominated another rich old white guy.
Has it?
It was a rich old white girl last time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
I don't think Biden's that rich either.
Hillary nominated herself.
Fact.
Yeah.
She just kind of said
Can't
it's
deny
my
that.
turn.
Party of Diversity. Rich old
In
white guy.
2008.
Party of Diversity.
Over.
Party of Diversity.
I mean, you got to admit though, they're more diverse than the Republicans.
Republicans nominate the best person for the job.
So it's never been a person of color.
No, not in particular, I wouldn't say. What about Herman? No, not Herman. Cain.
Yeah, Herman Cain. Let's bring him up.
Yeah, Cain Train.
Carson.
Sleepy Carson.
Yeah, what about him?
He's sleeping through his HUD meetings right now.
Right.
He was,
All right.
Well, you said what about, and I just gave you an example, an anecdotal example.
Of somebody who was I guess he was in the running, and then he got a HUD position.
You got stomped by the Donald.
Got stomped by reality, I feel like.
True alpha male.
Alpha.
Well, perhaps we could continue this conversation on the next installment of Project Ion Podcast. What do we think, boys?
Yeah, I got to get out of here.
All righty.
So,
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Cole.
Is there any later availability of doing this?
Oh, you know
Clearly,
what?
I have some issues.
Just hop
Which is
on whenever you
okay.
can. Not a big deal.
I mean, I'm okay with doing that. I don't know if it annoys you guys that I zip it now.
No, it's not a big deal.
That's when we talk about you.
At least it's recorded so I can go back and look.
I was hoping, and maybe we can get some feedback from our non-existent audience, but wouldn't be bad to maybe do more than one a week if we could.
Yeah.
We have been doing Saturday nights, but I'm not opposed. It's easy for me to put something together. So
yeah, if we're Zooming, I can be more available.
Sure.
During the week.
You bet. So
yeah,
we can be flexible. I think the back and forth. Yeah.
What is your public job, if you don't mind me asking?
Me?
Yeah.
I am a software developer / full stack developer for a company in Grettinger, EPS.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He drags and drops.
A drag and drop, baby.
You use Scratch.
Just Scratch programming.
You use Scratch.
Yeah, exactly. If statements and loops. That's all I do all day.
All right, boys.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, take care, fellas.
See ya.
See you later.